A new name, a new look, a renewed focus. It's all part of the reasoning for the newly rebranded Minnesota Star Tribune, which just unveiled its new state-centric look. Now, you may have noticed the new name this weekend, along with a bit of an explanation behind the change. But we wanted to know more, especially at a time when so many newsrooms around the state are closing, not expanding. Carla Holt takes a closer look.
Here we go. A paper that began just after the Civil War now welcomes tomorrow.
And so, of course, when you do that, you got to put up a new sign.
As publisher and chief executive of the Minnesota Star Tribune, Steve Grove says yes, the new name reveals the new mission to better serve the state.
We think the Minnesota Star Tribune can really be the heart and the voice of the North. What we heard people tell us across Minnesota was they wanted more statewide coverage of what's happening all across Minnesota. There's a kind of an identity to being Minnesotan. And so we decided to embrace that, put Minnesota in our title.
And building on that brand, among the 225-person newsroom, 13 reporters will now work and live throughout greater Minnesota, along with that new website and overall new platform. And Grove notes the organization's commitment should bolster, not bust, business for journalism in general and small-town papers in particular.
It's a challenging time in journalism. You know, in Minnesota in the last 10 years, we've seen 30% of the newspapers shut down and 60% of the journalists leave the business. So we think that unless you take a big, bold swing and try to do something different, you're not going to just manage decline towards a stronger future for journalism.
Grove says partnering with smaller publications, either through bundles or shared content, along with accurate, balanced news coverage, couldn't come at a better time for the country and the state.
It's a moment for journalism. When you look at all this happening in the country, it is time for news organizations to step up. We're still going to cover hard news. We're still going to do investigative reporting. But we want to also lift up some of the joy of Minnesota. This is a state that should be proud of who it is, and your newspaper should reflect that.
But on the question of will it work, Assistant Professor of Emerging Media at the University of St. Thomas, April Eichmeyer, says,
only time will tell whether or not it is a successful rebrand.
Still, Eichmeyer commends how the Minnesota Strib is boldly forging their own path to tomorrow.
Smart brands are always thinking about the future, always thinking about what it means as an organization, and always thinking, are we in the optimal position that we need to be in?
The goal of this rebranding is lofty. They're looking for a 200% jump in paid digital subscriptions in the next 5 years. The Strib's trying to bring them in with a big deal, too. New digital subscribers can get 6 months for just $1. Then people will pay $5 a week, and people who want to support the Strib will be able to donate more. But clearly, Kent, this is an investment by a company into, they say, the community. We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, Carla, that's the thing that strikes me, not the name change, but the fact that there will be so many reporters covering the state, around the state.
Yeah, which really will allow them to not just report on a crisis or an emergency, but to actually live and breathe the news as it's happening and then report back on, frankly, their neighbors.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right,
Yeah.
Thanks, Carla.